Mikhail famously said that there are two types of sacrifices. Correct ones, and his own. How can it be that two bishops attacking a king are causing so many problems in the black position that it is literally equal? Well, here black played g6. This is the best move. Giving up a pawn with a check. But the difference is that the king now can run there. That is extremely important, because after you play bishop takes g6 and king to f8 and pawn takes e7, the black king gets to g7 and there is nothing to be afraid of anymore. Look at this position. Black is only up 1 point of material, just one, but he has an extra queen. White has two bishops, and for the moment, I guess 2 extra pawns. He has 7 pawns to just 5. But one is under attack, and this one is not a particularly strong asset, and the bishop is just straight up hanging, by the way. But this next move is really the most incredible part of this entire combination. In chess, you can defend against the threat in multiple ways. You can see the threat and defend the piece with a pawn, by moving the piece, getting the piece out of danger. You can also do what's called danger levels, what I like to call danger levels, which is creating a threat of equal or exceeding nature. And then there is a third category, by far the most advanced category of threat recognition. I'm not even sure this has a name. We can just call this Tal style, bishop to g3. Tactically defending the bishop on g6, because if the king were to take it, pawn to f5 would be a check and the queen would be hanging. So you cannot take the bishop. What do? You play knight to f6, which is a mistake. Instead, black should have maybe played b4 and attacked the knight. But knight to f6 is on the board. And Tal plays rook e1, threatening the pawn on e6, then the pawn on d5, and then f5 is coming. He leaves the bishop hanging once again. Koblenz plays b4, which proves to be a very bad mistake if white plays the move f5 here. The thing about f5, though, is that it would allow the queen to take the pawn. And I have this feeling that if two moves both look good, Mikhail Tal will always play the one that looks more strange. It's like the Joker in Batman says, whatever kills you only makes you stranger. In this position, Tal played rook takes e6, sacrificing another horse. He has now sacrificed a queen and both of her stallions. Queen on f3 is gone, knight on e6 is gone, the knight on c3 can be absolutely taken. Black takes. Now we play the move we've been wanting to play all along, pawn to f5, attacking the queen. We already know, if cb2, king b1. The king will hide behind the pawn, using it like a shield, like an umbrella pawn. Using it like an umbrella from the rain. And here on the 22nd move of the game, Koblenz went queen b7. Which, as we see, is a mistake. White can now win by either taking this pawn or pushing. Both are good. Tal decides, I'm gonna push. Now white's idea is bishop to e5. And after that, white will simply be winning the game because the king is totally stuck. Maybe you gotta run away. Maybe that's the best move. Black goes queen d7. Now, the idea of queen d7 is really, really nasty, actually. Queen d7 is designed to take the rook. Take and win the bishop. That's a lot, but white doesn't have a lot of pieces left. So you gotta defend it. What is Tal gonna do? Well, obviously, what he's going to do in every single game that he plays, he's gonna sacrifice both of those pieces. He gives them both of them. Bishop e5. Bishop e5 looks like a beginner's mistake. It looks like you brought in these pieces to attack f6, and you simply forgot that the queen could take. Pawn takes e6, you're losing the bishop. Yes, but Tal saw rook f1. The idea of rook f1 is the knight is hanging. You can't move the knight, because if you move the knight, I take the rook. For example, and you can't defend it because I would take the rook like that. So let's say if you move the knight here, the idea is very simple for white to win. Bishop takes, rook f8. The pawn shields the rook and white promotes and wins. Well, that seems pretty straightforward, right? You just need the rook to get to f8. The game is over. No. What? So it's not over. I can't take and go rook f8 anymore. Then why is it +5? That's because Mikhail Tal brings his enemies to a forest, where 2 + 2 is 5, and the path out is only good enough for 1. Bishop takes rook, rook takes bishop, and the entire thing that you were trying to prevent, Mikhail Tal sacrifices the rook. You cannot take the rook with the knight, because I will promote the pawn. But if you take the rook with the rook, all Mikhail Tal needs to do is just have one pawn remaining. And he plays e7, king f7. He takes the knight, and he simply plays king to d1. And in this position, Black resigned.